So our next topic is something that every grower is concerned about. You've got USDA specs over here, then you've got receiver specs over here, and sometimes they're different, right?
Right.
So Steve Elfring is with us from Potandon.
Potandon. Potandon Produce.
And Tony Trujillo from Farm Fresh Direct. You're going to be giving a presentation in a bit talking about that. So let's talk about this whole communication aspect and why are there differences between what a receiver has as specs and USDA? Steve, why don't you give it the first shot?
Well, I think this has been a gradual process because the USDA has always been the baseline or the standard, and over the years, as consolidation and customers want to differentiate themselves from each other, they start to deviate and create tighter size specs.
So we're moving away from a commodity basis.
We're moving away from a commodity basis,
okay.
And it becomes very variable, and oftentimes they change it, but you don't always necessarily know that how it works at the shipping side. So it becomes a communication aspect of what are the receiver QA people looking at and how are the shipping people working at it and looking at it and trying to meet in the middle to try and understand that.
So Tony, how do we do that? How do we get them to speak the same language? And can we get them to speak the same language?
Well, for potatoes, USDA grade standard is the standard.
Right.
And then having a communication as to how much they're going to deviate tighter from, or in some cases when supply is tight and towards the end of the season, they may give you an exception and take a lesser. But to communicate that as to what they want, especially when they're tightening it up, I guess is how much do they want to deviate from the standard of US number one, I guess.
So USDA, and let's use your example, there's a tight supply, they lower the standard. How do we communicate that to the receivers so it doesn't get shipped there and then all of a sudden it's rejected?
Yeah, I think it becomes a real collaborative effort, which is part of the title of the program. It starts with the buyers and the sales interaction and the people behind them, which is the operation and the QA people, and trying to give us probably as much lead time as to say, hey, in a couple months, we foresee this happening or these types of things happening, and then possibly they can work it into maybe not promoting during those times, not having as much stuff, and working with their QA people and working it up to the interface of the buyers. So
really getting real-time information is critical along the entire supply chain if this is going to work.
Yes. Yep.
And are we doing that?
It becomes tough because you're a customer. Everybody refers to a customer as their customer, but everybody's customer is everybody's customers. So you have this fragileness or fragile feeling of if you tell the customer you're going to have quality issues, you're afraid they're going to leave you and go to somebody else. So there's a trust factor there and a partnership thing that you need to continue to work on in this day and age of consolidations. There's fewer suppliers and there's fewer receivers. Right. So there's that trust factor of you really being open and bearing your soul on it.
So Tony, in addition to trust, I would imagine that there's got to be some training that takes place so that the people who are inspecting and receiving know what to look for. Is that a problem?
If we have information up front as to what we're going to be looking for, what we've had to do in the past is learn personalities of certain receivers. Once you learn the personality of the receiver, then you can train
how to talk to them
QC,
and so on.
Yeah, QC personnel to look for these certain defects or notify us when we're seeing these so we can ship gears.
But that seems like a very one-to-one effort.
Right.
It's very time-consuming, might not happen as quickly as you need it to happen, or be very expensive to happen. Isn't there a simpler way to do all this?
Well, for our company, our QA probably spends about maybe 15 to 20 trips a year working to have that reverse training back and forth and understand how they're looking at the same thing and the perception and reality, so we can try to be we try to get ahead of real time, so to speak. And if you have a history of the customer and you have a history of knowing when you're going to have quality issues, you try to get ahead of real time and understand which receivers have their personalities of. Some of them may really look for defect A, and some of them are really focused on B. So you try to ship the right product to the right people, but you almost have to be ahead of real time, because if you're at real time, you'll be behind it.
You're late.
Yeah.
You're late.
You're late. You've missed it.
So what advice do you have? Do both of you have? And I'm sure that's going to be in your presentation for everybody at the Potato Expo on how to handle this situation. Tony?
Well, I think cross-training, having receivers QC personnel visit some of the
So
suppliers.
it's really that whole
And
cross-training. That's
and
critical.
so they can understand, I think, really what the challenges that a shipper is up against, as opposed to just, we're not trying to push as much product as we can on them. We are really, genuinely trying to provide them a good quality product. So if they could see the challenges that we're up against and maybe understand that a little bit, I think that would help.
And Steve, your advice?
For mine's a little bit broader. I think quality needs to be a mindset and a culture, and really, we need to look at the potato industry as a whole, not as receivers or shippers, but the growers produce it and the end users eat it, and we need to get the best product to the end user to increase consumption, but all the way along, it's got to work for everybody. So the collaboration on a grander scale across everything would be my advice. Is quality needs to be foremost and forefront every single day.
Well, gentlemen, thanks so much. Congratulations on your presentation. I'm sure it's going to be very well received. It's an important topic. I'm Phil Lempert. This is The Eye at the Potato Expo. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And we'll be right back.